of language, of poetry. Thank you for being a vessel of truth and a steward of our future worlds. Thank you for believing in your power and stepping into it every time you pick up a pen, every time you step up on the mic. So please, can you do me a favor and just make a lot of noise for yourselves and for each other right now? Let's make some noise, y'all. Woo-wee. I missed y'all. So I have the honor of introducing our first poet of our program. She is a Brave New Voices alum, y'all, from Hampton Roads, Virginia. Clap it up for Hampton Roads. Ayanna Florence is a poet, creative author, and teaching artist based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina. Talk about a fierce femme right here. She is the 2023 Women of the World Poetry Slam champion, the 2023 and 2024 Slam Charlotte Grand Slam champion, the 2024 Slam Madness champion. She's a champion. She's just a champion, y'all, and much more. So as a queer Black woman, Ayanna exists on the fringes and outside the box, and her artistry reflects this reality. In both performance and prose, her artistry is raw, powerful, and poignant. She recently released her debut poetry book, Oceans, right? And she is passionate about using her poetry as a method of healing herself and others. Y'all, please make some noise for Ayanna Florence.
Everybody. Yeah, like Kat said, my name is Ayanna Florence. I am so excited to be here today. I'm not going to do too much talking. I'm going to get to the poem. I just want to say this is really, really cool. Brave New Voices is where I started doing poetry, and so this feels incredible. Yeah, clap it up for that. And this just feels very full circle, so I just wanted to thank y'all for having me. I'm blessed enough to talk about an issue that is very important to me, so I'm just gonna get into it. If that's cool, say word. Word. All right. I keep a running list of pregnancy side effects that absolutely terrify me. As if the nausea or the cankles weren't enough, pregnancy symptoms can start to sound like horror movies when kaleidoscoped, can become shattered stained glass and bloody Palm Sunday. Like, did you know that while pregnant, all of your teeth can fall out like rainfall, like gunfire, like a nightmare come alive, and labor is nothing more than an undoing. All the different types of tearing and stitching, watching your body become origami orchestra must be God's plan after all. I read a story once about a woman who had a stroke while giving birth. The baby turned her brain into a bomb site. She wasn't even given the grenade to pray to, and I could have stopped at the swollen feet and vomit. There should be no need to explain any further because any of these symptoms are enough to want an abortion. In 12 of these United States, abortion is illegal in every case, including rape or incest, no exceptions, meaning there are victims who spend more days in prison than their abusers ever will, meaning there are women forced to meet their maker twice, first at the hands of her rapist, then at the hands of her government. In Texas, a man walks into a courtroom and calls the forced fetus a blessing, then watches all the bills bend to his will as if he cares how the buoy breaks or if the baby drowns. In Ohio, a woman miscarries in a public toilet and they name her a murderer, try to give her a prison cell to die in for a second time. In North Carolina, abortion rights are hanging on by their umbilical cords. Our bodies, a political playground, reproductive care, a bargaining chip, a southern simulation. How backwards to be so pro-life but a death warrant walking. Someone once said, if men in Congress could get pregnant, abortions would be available at ATM machines. And I would raise that and and say if those men could get pregnant, abortions wouldn't even be called abortions. They'd be called something like completions or executions. They would be celebrations and joyous occasions, and they would be free in the back rooms of bathhouses. Accessibility is but a fairy tale to the oppressed, to black women who were never getting the health care they needed to begin with, to a black maternal death rate 3 times as high as our white counterparts, to a society that still sees us as breeding farms, as slave and mother, as mammy monster. So whether we die of childbirth or back alley botchery, it's of no consequence to the colonizer. They never cared about black babies to begin with. And when it was my turn at the clinic, in a room full of unexpecteds, there was not a single smile or ceremony. I only felt the bigots at my back. I only felt the shame that wasn't mine and the stigma stitched to my skin. I cried and felt stupid about it. I cried and felt guilty about it. And I was just a girl, just a woman, just a body trying to survive in a world that wants me dead. And if our deaths ain't enough for them to care, I don't know what the fuck is. In 12 of these United States, abortion is illegal in every case, including rape or incest, no exceptions. None of these laws mention the life of the person carrying the fetus, as if it's not even worth addressing, as if we don't even matter. Any reason to get an abortion is a good enough reason to get an abortion. Our bodies are the last things that belong to us. You will not make a martyr out of my marrow. And when the dust settles and the smoke clears, our wombs will have the last word, because where else is there to begin? Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, please. Thank you.
One more time for Ayana Florence, everybody. Yee. Wow. All right, we're going to keep this program rolling. Next, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Please welcome to the stage, y'all, Crystal Edwards.
Nice and low. All right. Good morning, everyone. I am not a spoken word artist, so I'm just going to give another applause, because that was, I'm just going to start with that. Love you for that. Love you for that. Okay, so I'm Crystal Edwards. I'm based in New York City, and I'm the director of campaigns and engagement, and also, yes, thank you, and cultural strategist, campaign strategist at the Cultural Engagement Lab. So as a proud New Yorker, if I didn't say that already. So I've helped design and lead this campaign called Threads of Change. But now that I've talked about me, I would love to know, do we have anybody from the South in the room? Make some noise. Okay. West Coast. Okay. East Coast. Right? Midwest. Okay. All right, love that. How about folks that write poems about your personal life experiences? Great. How about your communities? Make some noise, okay. And then folks that write about the truth. Just spoken word about the truth. Amazing. So on behalf of the Cultural Engagement Lab, we are honored to be present at the State of the Union with all of you talented artists, creatives, and people that support artists and creatives. This audience is made up of the largest voting bloc in the country. Again, the largest voting bloc. This 2024 election year, Gen Z and millennial voters will surpass boomers as the country's largest voting bloc. The rhetoric that young people's voices and votes don't matter is an absolute lie. The truth is, young people, you, all of you, all have the power to shift narratives with your voices, art, and swing elections. We are here to reinforce that you have cultural and political power. We want to inspire you all to leverage the power of poetry to uplift issues. Next slide. Threads of Change unites movement groups, organizers, artists, writers, and influencers from diverse backgrounds to create art and movement that weave a rich tapestry of stories that foster dialogue and support election mobilizing. Utilizing creative data visualization, the campaign aims to advance narratives that combat disinformation about health equity, gender, immigration, and climate policy. We aim to explore using arts and culture to engage voters and potentially flip political outcomes, especially in swing states such as Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. With this campaign, we use data-driven artistry to communicate and visualize stories where the people are the heroes of their own community, advancing narratives of interdependence and collaboration. We believe in the power of stories to shape and form culture and want to tell a new story of democracy. And the way to do that is to use art to make it tangible and connected to things that we care about. Data storytelling uses facts to tell a story. We know stories have been a proven medium for teaching, explaining, and influencing. Some of your faves are storytellers, like my fave, Lauryn Hill, Miss Lauryn Hill, Ida B. Wells, Dina Simone, and Meg Thee Stallion. So we're using this approach to appeal to emotions and inspire people to take action. So we've commissioned Arizona-based artist Sheree Williams. Anyone from Arizona in here? Okay, we got a little something. So Sheree has created a visual art piece informed by data around abortion and reproductive rights in Arizona. Her piece reflects the world we want to see, a world where we have the power to choose what is right for us and our families. We've also commissioned Jamila Brown, a North Carolina-based visual artist. Anyone from North Carolina? She created this art piece that ties our connection to land and voter rights. Using data, she honors Black landowners' loss of their land and our power to vote to shift policies that impact the land ownership in the state of North Carolina. And today, we're honored to present our first commission poets. So you've already heard from one. That first piece, that commission piece, is the piece you just heard from Ayanna Florence, who's represented North Carolina in this project, the only Southeast state that protects abortion rights. And later, you'll hear from our second commission poet, Nathan Wallace, representing Hinesville, Georgia, and former Brave New Voices 2018 Timberlands, but you'll hear more of that intro later. So moving us forward, I want to introduce Alexis Posey, Chief Campaigns Officer, and our anchor partners for a brief panel. They will get into how and why movement partners are a key component of Threads of Change campaign and how we commission art to really mobilize. So come up to stage, and thank y'all.
I'm always joking. There's always a tough act to follow, so I won't even try. Hi, I am Alexis Posey. I am the Chief Campaigns Officer at the Cultural Engagement Lab and the Center for Cultural Power. How is everyone doing? I swear that y'all are so beautiful to look at. I'm just like, man, I'm so happy I'm here. And I have the distinct pleasure and privilege of being with you all to talk about the State of the Union and what's at stake and what we do. At the Cultural Engagement Lab, as Crystal mentioned, we create campaigns that aim to shift culture around many different issues. Threads of Change particularly wants to highlight and shift culture around the election process. So it's not specific to voting, but so much the process. How do we build power amongst ourselves, hone our power, and make sure that they know how powerful that we are? And so that is what the campaign aims to do. It's not. Sorry, y'all, tall girl problems. Can y'all hear me better now? Perfect. Sorry. Oh, it's gonna be one of those people who get weird around the microphone. But okay, so what we do is we work with artists, activists, and organizers, very much like you all in this room, to sort of do that, to work with and shift the campaign culture around particular issues, like I said, to change policy. I am a lobbyist by training, but what I know more than anything is that culture moves faster than policy. And so it is important that you all and us, but you all are at the center and at the forefront of the work happening, that your artistry, your words, your storytelling is heard and centered and made known about the issues impacting your life, your communities. So when Crystal did that call about how many tells your own stories, I was excited, and I can't wait to hear more of it. And now I'm gonna introduce the panel, because we are honored through the Cultural Engagement Lab and Threads of Change to partner with 3 incredible organizations as our anchor partners, and they are here. They got flued out, which was really nice of y'all to come. And so I'll start with Irene Godinez, a proud North Carolinian of Mexican heritage. Irene is the founder and co-executive director of Poder North Carolina Action. Yes, yes. A values-based nonprofit organization building independent political power with Latinx youth and their peers. I need to say before I continue, like, these are multi-hyphenates, right? So they have long bios that I am not gonna go through all of them, but I encourage, and I'm sure they welcome it as well if folks have questions, to talk to them and learn more, so y'all can learn more about each other. And so now I'm gonna go to Eloisa Lopez, who, a first-generation daughter of Mexican immigrants, born and raised in Phoenix. She serves as the executive director for Pro-Choice Arizona and the Abortion Fund of Arizona, and has held various leadership roles within the organization since 2018. So, shout out to Eloisa. So then we have Mike Jones. I was so nervous that no one was gonna do the who. I was like, come on, y'all. Okay, but no. We have Mike Jones, AKA Jizzle the Jokester, who is a multifaceted artist specializing in spoken word poetry, hip hop, lyricism, podcast social commentary, and storytelling. Mike is currently employed by Progress Georgia, where he occupies a digital organizer position as a content creator and community on-the-ground activist. So these are our artists, our organizers, our leaders who we get the chance to work with, who are doing the work locally and nationally around the issues impacting us all. And so I'm gonna start with the first question. So if you can all briefly tell us about your organization and how you came to this work. And you have a mic. Oh, you each have mics.
Through personal experience. I know the titles sound fancy, but I'm a community organizer at heart, and also just my lived experiences of specifically being a pregnant person living in domestic violence is what brought me to my work. I've also had 4 abortions, and when I was in my second pregnancy in my domestic violence situation, I reached a breaking point where, truth be told, I didn't want to be alive anymore and living in the conditions I was. And what inspired me to really get involved was, I really appreciate in my upbringing, this notion about, like, when I feel so helpless, get out there and serve other people. And I started to seek out volunteer work. And so I started volunteering in the organization that I lead now, just as a helpline volunteer, answering phone calls from other people who are also pregnant, needing to access abortion care. And in those conversations, I heard so many more people with experiences like mine, and I felt so rooted in my purpose to continue this work. And so it's been 6 years that I've been able to really change also the model of the organization, which was really grounded in white feminism and didn't feel aligned with me. And as I learned about reproductive justice, as I learned about abolition work, really expanding our work to be abortion access focused, to be reproductive justice focused, bring in abolition values, to center pregnancy justice and family justice, and all the ways that the systems and oppressions intersect and impact pregnant people's lives. So I'm really grateful for this work. It truly saved my life, and just really appreciate seeing y'all here and being activated to learn more about these issues.
Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. I am the oldest of a generation of Latinos in North Carolina. I've yet to meet a Latinx person from North Carolina who's older than I am, 42. I'm 42. And that means that I saw the evolution of my state going from an invisible population to suddenly we're like the fastest growing population in the entire state, but we had no political voice. No one was even talking to Latinx voters as if we don't matter. And I've been in the political space for 20 years. And in 2019, I saw the writing on the wall. The biggest generation of North Carolina-born Latinos were about to age in to their first presidential election in 2024, this year. So in 2019, I thought we need an organization that can begin investing in these young people so that by the time 2024 comes around, they are well aware of their options, of their power. And I always thought back to my first time voting and how I thought I knew all my shit. And I got in there and I was like, there's more than president on this ballot? And I ended up voting for the names that appealed to me. And that is not something that made me walk out with my head held high. And so here comes Poder, an organization that I birthed. It's my second child. And we are pro-Black, pro-Latinx, pro-LGBTQ+, and pro-reproductive justice. Why all those things? Because those are the things that matter to me, and I knew that I couldn't be the only Latinx person in North Carolina for whom that mattered, and I knew that if I built this vehicle, that my people would come. And I'm so proud that we are an organization that is disrupting politics in the best of ways and creative ways, leaning on our culture, lifting up our culture as the asset that it is. And I'm thrilled to be here in this space. I've lobbied and been around a lot of powerful people. This room is intimidating in a way because I've never been with young people who know their power and who are activating their voices. And I'm so excited to be in community with y'all. Thank you for having me.
Peace, y'all. So, Mike Jones, aka Just
Who?
Jones. Mike Jones, yeah. So I work for Progress Georgia. We're a political organization. We are the communication hub for Georgia when it comes to progressive policies, when it comes to progressive messaging and things like that. So we spend a lot of time trying to push things that the right doesn't want us to push. So we spend a lot of our time combating narratives and stuff like that. But I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. The reason I got into politics, two things. One, being Black, it is hard as hell in America. And two, I smoke weed. And we can't do that legally everywhere we want to. So fighting for things that you believe in is the number one way that you can get into politics. Finding out what you care about and finding out ways that you can be effective in that cause. Those are the things that led me to politics. And I hope that's why all of y'all are here. But like I said, we're definitely gonna talk a lot about that. But I appreciate y'all just giving me the chance to be here. And yeah, it's dope. So appreciate y'all and let's get it.
Yeah. Mike, that's so true. How I got into politics was that I'm like, I need to free the weed and free my people, right? So my first campaign was a marijuana legalization campaign in New York, right? It was like, free the weed. And so, obviously use responsibly, folks. So my first question to you all, and again, it's a big one. So what's at stake at this election, right? Both nationally, but also locally, right? Because we have folks, as Crystal determined, from many different regions. And so in your areas, what are you seeing locally that also tells the story at the national level? And then, just for the sake of time, how you see art and culture addressing those things or being a tool to do so. So what's at stake, and then sort of where does cultural strategy, poetry, all those things fit in? Because we know it does. And whoever would like to start.
So first, I just want to say the reason that I truly believe that art is as important as it is because art's the biggest component of the political revolution. Like, if it's not for people like Sam Cooke, if it's not for Nina Horn, if it's not for these individuals who have been able to timestamp the moments that were the most important for us so that we can always go back and remember why we were fighting at that time, art is the thing that does that. It's the voices of the generations, it's the sounds that you need to hear, it's the movements, it's the visual representation, the graffiti, the paint, everything that is art is political. And you don't have to necessarily be political to be an artist, but when you do art, it is political. And for us, what is at stake is everything. I don't know how familiar y'all are with Project 2025. I spend a lot talking shit about Project 2025 because it is probably one of the most insidious political legislation, literary pieces that has ever been put together. And if we do not continue to fight against that, it's not one thing that we lose everything. So they talk about abortion, they talk about Department of Education. They literally want to use the military to fight their own people on the ground. Like, y'all, we gotta fucking fight back, and we gotta stand up, and we gotta step up. So when it comes to being accessible, when it comes to being available, when it comes to being useful, that is the best way that you can be practical, and that's the best way that you can be effective, and that is what is at stake right now for us. And in Georgia, homelessness is one of the biggest things there, but it's also a big thing nationwide. We're seeing encampments literally thrown to the ground. We see people having to choose between their family and their pets and their belongings. It's one of the saddest things that you're gonna have to encounter, and that's one small issue that is on the ballot right now. So for me, what is at stake is every fucking thing.
Yeah. Good.
I'm gonna switch up the question a little bit. I like to agitate and disrupt. And I'm gonna frame it as, what is the opportunity? The opportunity right now is, like Crystal said earlier, y'all are, between y'all and my generation, we are a bigger faction of voters than the boomer generation, than the Gen X generation. And it is within our hands to mold this country to our will, if we choose to accept the challenge, right?
That's true.
So that is the biggest opportunity, and I am so heartened every time that I'm looking out and working with Gen Z. My favorite person in the world is Gen Z. It's my oldest niece, Alexia. And what I see in y'all's generation, this opportunity of, y'all are audacious. Like, y'all are truth tellers. This is the first generation that is like the biggest truth telling generation that this country has ever seen. And not just that, but y'all also are curious, and you have computers in your hands in order to communicate quickly. And this room in particular, y'all have the gift of words and the gift to evoke emotion from people. And so many times, politics is made to be an experience that will deflate you, that will make you feel defeated. We see all the people who are in charge, they don't look like us. And that is all intentional. And so the opportunity is for us to use this year to will this country in our way, to our way. And in North Carolina, we are, like Ayanna said, the only state in the Southeast that currently still has access to abortions. And it is hanging by an umbilical cord, like she said. And if we don't fight for the South, the soul of this nation is lost, because in the South is where youth movement organizing happened and took shape and changed the trajectory around civil rights. It has always, always, always been young people who are fed up, but again, your generation is the one that has the resources, that has the voice, and I hope that we don't squander this opportunity, because coming back from a Trump election, and I'm not saying, definitely I don't support Biden, but coming back from that is gonna be so much harder, especially because they will have fulfilled a Republican wet dream of having every branch of government.
Thank you both. I resonate so deeply with that. So for our work, right, we're focused on abortion access, and I know that's the hot topic on the ballots in the states, on the federal level, but it's really so much deeper than just abortion. That's the surface, but what this really is about is surveilling anybody who has the capability of becoming pregnant in this country and controlling your own bodily autonomy and reproductive options, right? So what we see is abortion, but what they're coming after is birth control and the STI testing. I mean, Arizona is an abstinence-only state. They prohibit comprehensive positive sex education, and so, you know, denying people factual information about your bodies. We experience even a book ban about any children's literature reproductive anatomy or conversation in the books. They've stripped those from the libraries. Like, they really want to hide the education about how we can empower ourselves, right? And so what we see on the state level, what we know on the federal level, right? The South is hit the hardest. And what happens in one state impacts all of our states, okay? So for abortion, we have to continually send people to other states to access health care that you should be able to access in your own neighborhood, in your community, in your city, in your county. For us, abortion clinics are a cornerstone healthcare clinic that really should be present everywhere. And they don't just offer abortion, they could do your wellness testing, your STI testing, any cancer screenings, things like that. But what we see is, and what we know, was that Roe v. Wade was not a good standard, okay? Like, that offered some protection, but it didn't give everybody the access that they really needed. And so what's now happening that was stripped away is states are trying to replicate that standard on a state level. That's still not good enough. And in Arizona, we also have an abortion ballot measure. What's happening is these are viability standards. So again, these are standards that are still an abortion ban at a slightly higher gestational limit. And what that allows is for the state to then criminalize you after that limit. Okay, and that's a really scary thing to implement in your state constitution, because then it's going to be really hard to reverse or amend that. And so even though those are on many state ballots and we've seen them pass in other places, it is just a stepping stone harm reduction Band-Aid, but it's really not the overall solution. What we advocate for is unrestricted abortion care, right? And everyone might carry different perspectives about when, what type of abortion could be acceptable, what limits should be acceptable. And as we heard in the poem earlier, it's just like, no, any reason is a good enough reason for somebody to be able to access abortion care, for somebody to not remain pregnant, especially if they don't want to. And we really shouldn't be what these ballot initiatives do is erase a specific population that still needs abortion care, and that's later abortion patients, right? And so even though they are not, like, the majority of people access abortion care in the early stages, right? But later abortion care is still essential because people will die. And so these kind of policies are okay with throwing people under the bus and allowing a certain demographic of folks to still be high risk and possibly die from not being able to access care. Right now across the country, we have a small handful, about 5 clinics that offer later abortion care, right? But what we see is even just in the South, Texas, first state, SB 8, right, before the rest of the country lost access, we are seeing extreme cases of people in hospital systems being turned away from emergency rooms. Like, none of us should have to reach the point of sepsis to then be given care, right? Like, people are literally being pushed to near death. You're damaging your organs, risk of infertility. And so just to lay the framework, right? Abortion is just the starting point, but they're really coming after everything and wanting to heavily surveil anybody who has reproductive capability in this country.
Can y'all do me a favor and just clap for our panelists here? Thank you. Perhaps should be comfortable clapping for yourselves for being such an amazing audience and letting us come and share this moment with you all. I just want to say, one, that I'm grateful, but also everything you've heard there is true because I trust the sources. But you should always, as you all do, I'm sure, do your own fact-finding, right? Figure out what you care about and what is most important to you, and it, from what I can tell, many of you know, and how you want to share and how you want to be active in what's going on. As it's been stated by Crystal, by our panelists, the power that y'all hold, it's not just being said for funsies, it is literally true, and you have so much room and so much talent and ability to do it different than any way that we've all been told that we had to. And so that's why it's so exciting. I mean, I'm like an older millennial, I guess, if you get caught up in those age ranges. It's so exciting to witness and watch and listen. I be in the meetings, I'm like, that's right, I don't need to say nothing, you talk, because the power and the ways, the ability, the knowledge that you all bring into a space is just incredible. So I will stop talking, but I'm so grateful to be here with you all again, to have this State of the Union moment at Brave New Voices. And I'm gonna pass it to Kat Ivasco and Lindsay Nguyen to bring us into the next part. All right.
Oh, thank y'all so much. We're gonna keep it going, but right now we wanna hear from y'all. We actually created a real-time survey to hear from you all in the room what issues matter to you most. So can y'all do me a favor, take out your phones real quick. Get out of the way. Please take a look at this. It's literally 2 questions, and then we're gonna put up the results.
Oh. Thank you, guys. We're going to also put this in the BNV channels for anybody who wasn't here. We want to hear from you all what issues are most important, what's top of mind, and what you really want to see candidates creating solutions around, right? This is really, really, timely and present, issues for everybody here, but we know things hit different, so we definitely want to hear from you all. And there's going to be another method to hear from you right after the next speaker, and it's called the If I Were a President Challenge. So 2 ways, again, for you to let your voice be heard. The real-time survey here, pass it around to all your friends, and then we'll go to the next one right after this.
You'll read the results?
Yeah, I'll read the results.
Cool, all right. So we're gonna read the results after this, but we got our last poet. Y'all, you already know this guy. So I'm gonna read this for formality's sake. Nathan R. Wallace is a poet from Hinesville, Georgia. Nathan was a member of the Brave New Voice, right? A member of the Brave New Voices 2018 Team Atlanta and was a semifinalist in 2019. Nathan won a rigorous competition to become Atlanta's Youth Poet Laureate and acquired his first book deal. Nathan's first published book was I'm My Own Therapist, a revolutionary example of vulnerability and imagery, as he not only takes the reader through his life, but paints a vivid picture as well. Y'all, please give some love to your very own Nathan Wallace.
Y'all heard that? Can y'all hear me? Can I teach y'all an Atlanta chant real quick? Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna say, you already know what the fuck going on. Y'all gonna say, hell yeah, all right? You already know what the fuck going on? Hell yeah! All right, so y'all sound good. I hope y'all did the survey things, all right? Y'all been here a little while, so I'm gonna keep it cute and I'm gonna keep it quick. So we're gonna go into the poem. Y'all cool with that? Yeah. All right, bet. My grandmother is afraid of dogs. It's probably because she was born before the Civil Rights Movement, where black folks who tried to protest had dogs sicked on them, where people of color who tried to vote could just as easily be hung. It is no longer 1965. But when my grandmother sees my Boston Terrier, she sees a premonition of what America once was and thinks it still is. And I want to tell her she's wrong, but I am running out of proof. Truth is, my grandmother may be right. Maybe we haven't come as far as we think, or maybe we're just traveling backwards. There aren't as many fire hoses and dogs attacking protesters, but there is pepper spray, and there is handcuffs. As we modernize racism begins to modernize too. In 2017, Georgia's governor purged over 500,000 voter registrations. Voter discrimination by a new name following 2018 and 2020, there were 72 allegations of voter suppression and voter fraud. There is a reason they don't want people of color to vote. It is the same reason they didn't allow us to vote in the first place. The same reason they didn't give women the right to vote either. They do not want us to be heard like they have never wanted us to be heard, because they know, like we do, they will not like what we have to say. And this And this and more is the reasons why we must not merely vote. We must come out in waves, a raging tsunami of the silence, an ocean of the oppressed ready to flood the ballots. When we do not come out in waves, do not mobilize together as a unified people, we allow racists of the past to be empowered in the now. We allow men without uterus to legislate on bodies they do not own. And in the same year, the Supreme Court ruled that the insurrectionists who stormed the White House were improperly charged, y'all. They reaffirmed a ban on homelessness without providing housing. And in the same country built by the slaves, there are states fighting to teach that it was us who were truly benefited. And they are rewriting history. At the same time, they are undermining human rights. This is a war on all sides, one of which we are not only running out of time because climate change may kill us before discrimination has a chance to. And in 2020, the top 10 most climate polluting plants in Georgia were responsible for 91% of global warming emissions. And Georgia is home to 3 of the top 100 most polluting power plants, all thanks to environmental policies put in place to make the rich richer while giving the rest of us poor living conditions. Climate change is on the rise in the countryside and by the sea. There are children suffering from respiratory disease and air pollution, trying to make a future for themselves while the ice caps melt and the sea levels rise. We are all waiting for a change that we must choose to be. Waiting in a prejudice so deep we could smell the drowning in the air. We see the blood in the water. But together, and only together, can we be the bridge to a better tomorrow by standing out and standing up, starting today. You already know what the fuck going on?
Y'all, one more time for Nathan Wallace. Whew, y'all are so important. Y'all are so important. Okay, so we have the survey results. Lindsay's going to read them out real quick. What are the issues?
So the top issues, according to each of you: healthcare access and affordability, reproductive rights, and the last one is gun violence, crime, and safety. So we're going to have a table at the 20th, so the wrap. The finals, for all you guys to actually register to vote. I know some of you, it'll be the first time. So make your voice heard, not just on these polls, but continue to take action and elect the candidates who best represent solutions for these issues.
Thank you. And the last thing is, we do have a rap challenge coming up that's going to be on TikTok, and it's going to be a competition. We're giving out $100 to each person who drops 16 bars and gets the most engagement. It's called the If I Were President Challenge. Please follow us at Cultural Engagement Lab. You could also follow Las Cafeteras, who's our partner doing this work with us. So yeah, if you got bars, I know MC Olympics is coming up, please check that out. Drop a few bars, win possible money. Thank y'all so much for letting us be with y'all. I'm gonna bring back your host, Shannon Danielle. Thank y'all.